Welcome everyone to the Moisky News for September the 16th, 2021. Today we are not going to be talking about the planned video I had from last week because I got too busy this week, sorry about that, on Cressida Dick. I may yet do that for Monday anyway. If not, it will be discussed on tomorrow's political recap with my delicious co-host, Judge Trupsy Wupsy. Instead, we are going to discuss the recent release of a 30-page document the UK government have released, containing a two-part plan to tackle COVID-19 during the autumn and winter seasons for this year, and of course early next year. For the sake of anyone who's interested, I'm going to off the bat tell you, no, none of this was referenced during PMQs, in favour of Keir Starmer just trying to catch the government out, with references to the £20 removal in universal credit for 6 straight questions. I see the Corbyn style of opposition has yet to change. Fascinating. The topic concerning this 30-page document was trending on the 14th on Twitter, and this announcement has actually been waited for quite some time, along with the more recent UK government reshuffle, which we'll get to on Friday. The main goal of the plans contains 2, of course, but they are regardless to attempt to reduce infections, deaths and additional strain on the NHS. As is widely known, the NHS operates at capacity anyway, so they're always under strain regardless. If any of you have seen images of empty wings and or wards, that doesn't mean that that particular hospital is not running at full capacity. It just means they're not using additional facilities, which they then have to acquire additional funding to then operate. Currently, 7% of all beds in hospitals are being used by patients suffering from COVID-19. If that percentile goes up by 1, they have a problem. If it goes up by 2, well, obviously that means the hospitals are doomed to suddenly collapse under the weight of that 1 additional percentage, unless the government has a plan to help with this. And no, at no point was I being sarcastic. There is a genuine threat during the winter months, and the government would very much like to not have to go back into lockdowns, which would harm the economy, especially during the Christmas season again, but also mean that the hospitals themselves would be overrun, meaning people with other concerns, health worries, won't be able to go to the doctors. As if flu season itself wasn't enough of a problem for the hospitals, or pneumonia, sepsis, and so on. And that's not forgetting those on the more extreme side, with cancer unable to get so much as 1 appointment for chemotherapy. Under Plan A, in this 30-page document, which I'm going to condense down, thank you BBC article for giving me bullet points, ministers will encourage the unvaccinated to be jabbed. Because they're not going to mandate it, they can't do that. They will offer vaccines to 12 to 15-year-olds with parental consent, but apparently a child can in fact overrule a parent, and begin a booster jab program for millions. So for millions that are eligible, a 3rd shot is in your future. It will also include continued testing, tracing of cases, self-isolation for those who catch the virus, and businesses will be encouraged to consider using the NHS COVID Pass to check the vaccination or test status of customers, which I don't think is a good idea, but we'll get to in a moment. Under Plan B, the public would be urged to act more cautiously. Mandatory vaccine passports could be used for mass events and other settings. Face coverings would be legally mandated in some places. If any of you have thrown away your face masks, you may want to consider going onto my Teespring and buying a cheap one. That isn't cheap in the slightest, but give me your money. Failing that, just go to Poundland. Guidance on working from home may also be issued under this plan, but Boris Johnson wants people to return to the workplace, especially if you're younger. So when asked what would cause us to go from Plan A to Plan B, Boris said he would consider the risks and state of the disease through real-time data. Quoted as saying, "The thing I would stress about Plan B is that it contains a number of different shots in the locker, and you wouldn't necessarily play them all at once, far from it. Believe so many of the population have some degree of immunity, smaller changes in the way we're asking people to behave can have a bigger impact. This then led to the Chief Scientific Advisor Sir Patrick Vallance and Chris Whitty, the government's Chief Medical Advisor, warning about winter coming, respiratory viruses like the flu are hugely advantaged during this time, so you should take advantage and go get yourself a jab. Notice how I've never once called this a vaccine. There's a reason for that if it's not obvious enough. The Health Secretary Sajid Javid told MPs it was highly likely frontline NHS staff and those in wider social care settings will be made to get a COVID jab, multiple jabs, and a flu vaccination so they can be deployed, indicating they'll be keeping an open mind and waiting on results of a consultation, further continuing by describing Plan B as a measure that we can call upon only if they are needed and supported by the data to prevent unsustainable pressure on the NHS. So when it comes to the idea of a COVID passport for nightclubs, gigs, crowded indoor venues and such, venues with more than 500 attendees, crowded outdoor events with more than 4,000, and any setting with more than 10,000 people, yeah, get yourself a COVID passport, which means you have to be jabbed twice, at least. Which for anyone who has a gig coming up is quite the inconvenience. Especially if you don't want to get one, but to attend it, the gig that is, you have to. It almost feels like you're being put in a corner and you are given no actual choice, because if you really want to do something, you have to have something you don't want. Try to imagine my shock that this doesn't create a two-tier system, right? There is sarcasm here if you can't tell. I would roll my eyes, but if I do it anymore, they might just disconnect. With this subject, I'd like to know what you all think about the government's plan. I will link the 30-page document down below as a pinned comment with other sources. Do let me know, drive the engagement up, smash the like, share the video. I hope you'll have a fantastic day and thank you all very much for listening.